Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. The case that I'm going to be looking into today involves another child case. So anyone that finds those particularly horrific, which they are, but just that some people can't really listen to them. So yeah, it is the case of Maddie Clifton. And we're gonna jump right in. Madeline Ray Clifton was born on the 17th of June in 1990. She was born to Sheila and Steve, who lived in Jacksonville in Florida. She was a lovely girl, would love to spend time outside. That is what she enjoyed doing the most. You know, she wasn't one of the kids. I mean, this case did happen in the 90s. So back then, it's not like nowadays, is it, where everyone's glued to the phone. So kids were actually out and playing and doing what like getting out and touching grass, basically. So yeah, she loved to be outside. And back then, people felt a little bit safer in the world than they do now, and children were allowed to have more freedom. Although she was called Madeline, everyone knew her as Maddie. And at the time of this case occurring, she was 8 years old. And sadly, she would stay at 8 years old eternally because her life was brutally stolen away one day on the 3rd of November in 1998. Maddie had gone outside to play like she normally would. She was very active, and her mother came home and Maddie wasn't around and she didn't come back home. Her mother made a frightened 911 call to the police.
I went out to play this afternoon. Now she's missing.
How old is she?
She's 8 years old.
Where was she playing at around the house?
Right around the house here. 4:30 to 5 o'clock. About 5:30 was the last time we saw her. And I was letting the kids play out here for a little while, and then she disappeared. Honey, Maddie is gone.
Yeah, the police are going to be there shortly, ma'am, okay?
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Of course, they came straight over because she was 8 years old and she was missing. Everyone was out in force. The police came, neighbours, anyone. It was quite a close-knit community, and anyone and everyone was out. I'm so sorry for the cats. All searching for Maddie, volunteers, everything. There was one kid in particular who was called Joshua Phillips, and he was a neighbour. He lived directly across the road from Maddie, and they used to play a lot together, so he came out very worried, and he would also join the search parties to look for her. And it was in fact his home. He was 14 years old, so he was older than Maddie. His home that day that Maddie was going out to play. She was going around to his to play basketball, I believe, or baseball. I think it was baseball, actually. I'm not sure. One of them. And from there is where she never returned. So the police are out scouring everywhere. And trust me, they looked through every home multiple times. They put up, like, they had a massive police presence there. And anyone that was travelling through the town, because they really... No! Oh, God. My apologies. Eek, eek. Stop pressing buttons! They had a police blockade up. Anyone in that town wanting to travel through it or whatever was checked by the police, because they really did believe that it was done by someone locally and that potentially Maddie was still here somewhere, which is why they were searching everybody's houses too, because they genuinely thought she was still around somewhere. There was flyers going out for Maddie. There was a reward which was up to $50,000, I believe. You know, just trying to put her face out there, her name out there, so because somebody must know something as to where she's gone. They would also do appeals as well, but the days passed by and there was no sign of Maddie. It would be a week later when a horrific discovery was made. Joshua's mother was called Melissa, and let me just give you a little bit of background of him. He was born on the 17th of March in 1984 to Steve and Melissa. And Steve was not a very good, by all accounts. He was an alcoholic. He was also violent towards both of them, his wife and his son. And they both did live in fear of him. He had strict rules for his son as well. He wasn't allowed other children in the house unless they were supervised, like he wasn't present, and he apparently really disliked young girls, because Melissa even said that she never knew why her husband disliked girls, but apparently he did. He was described as being quiet and friendly, and he was quite popular, because people used to say that he was funny and silly. And like I said, Josh and Maddie were friends, you know, they would play together often. Even Sheila, Maddie's mom, has said that she had never felt afraid for Maddie going around to Josh's or anything like that. Either way, a week later, Melissa makes this discovery. So she goes in Josh's room, and remember waterbeds? Like when they were really popular in the 90s? Well, yeah, he had a waterbed. And when she started tidying up the room, because she said it was deplorable, those were her words that she used, she wanted to tackle that beast and get his room like somewhat clean or whatever. So she goes in, and under his waterbed there's like a weird stain. So she thinks, oh crap, it's leaking. Goes over, sort of has a little nosy around, and realizes that part of the frame is slightly broken and a sock has fallen down there. So, you know, socks fall down beds all the time. So she's basically trying to get this sock and see what this like weird oozing, this weird stain of liquid is. And a bit of the bed, I think, falls down because the frame is not like held together very well at this point. And when it does, she gets a clear vision of that sock. But the sock is also attached to a little foot. And that little foot would be that of Maddie's, basically. So she goes legging it outside, and at the time, apparently, there was still a big police presence because they were still looking for Maddie. So she goes running outside and grabs a police officer, takes them inside, and they continue into the room alone, and they look into all of this. And this is where they find Maddie's body. Hidden under, Phil's, Josh's waterbed. Now, you might ask where Josh was at this time. He was at school. He was in some sort of class, like chem class or something like that, and just living his normal life. Hoping that the decaying body under his bed would never get found. I don't know. When the police looked into it more, they found that there was incense everywhere, there was air fresheners, there was even a sort of leaflet of Maddie being missing, which was put in the middle of the air fresheners. And Josh was out comforting her mum, trying to look for Maddie, when all this time Maddie had been under his bed for a week. Yeah, for an entire week. And he was sleeping on it. So she was kind of more at the bottom, in the fetal position, by all accounts. But still, he slept on that bed for a week with her decaying body underneath. It's freaking grim, dude. Honestly, it is so disgusting. But yeah, and he was 14 years old. 14. Anyway, the police arrested him in his class, and he admitted to it. Whether it was the full truth, what happened is debatable, because this is the story he went with. So they began to play baseball. He accidentally hit Maddie in the face with a ball, which caused like her eye to start bleeding. And it was instantly bruised, and so she starts crying because she's in pain. And he takes her inside. I don't know why, because apparently he's not allowed kids inside. But he decides to take her inside rather than just tell her, oh my god, I'm so sorry, why don't you go home to your mum? No, doesn't do that. He takes her inside. In she goes. But then, guess what? He's worried that his dad might come home. And of course, well, he was due home very soon. Of course, he's not allowed anyone in the house unsupervised, especially not a little girl, because his dad does not like them for some reason. And he's terrified of his dad. So what he does is he gets the bat, smacks Maddie over the head 2 or 3 times, knocks her out, apparently drags her. Well, I don't know whether it was from the outside, because I've actually read. So I heard that he invited her inside, but then I also read that they never found any dirt on her. So if he dragged her in from the backyard, which he claims that he did, then there would have been dirt on her, but they never found any. So maybe he knocked her out in the back garden then, dragged her in, dragged her upstairs, shoved her under his bed, and then his dad came home. But apparently, obviously, she was still alive at this point. So he hears her like grumbling, and his dad's downstairs or something. And so he then decides that he is going to stop her grumbling once and for all. And he pulls her back out, stabs her multiple times with his pocket knife thing, I think. And he stabbed her several times in the sort of chest neck area, and apparently tried to, well, made a slit on her throat as well. I don't know whether it didn't kill her, basically, because when he shoved her back in the bed, when they found her body, she was holding onto the frame. So when she was under that bed, she was still alive, and she'd grabbed onto the frame, and that is how she then died. She died there and was still in the same position. Then he just joined the searches like nothing had ever happened. He was just nuts. So they did an autopsy of Maddie, because when she was found, she was only wearing her t-shirt, and she'd gone missing with some shorts on, and she had no underwear on. So obviously they were thinking straight away that this might have been sexually motivated. However, they never found any evidence that she was SA'd. So I'm not saying that it wasn't motivated in that way, but he never did anything to her. And I kind of think that it probably was, because when they looked into his computer, he was looking up violent adult stuff to do with that. Like literally just before she came around, he had made he'd hidden in his back garden, you know, like a detachable home phone. He buried that in the garden. And when they looked into the phone records, they found that he had been ringing these numbers, all these different numbers, like a lot of times. And when they looked who it was, and he rung up a lot of money on it, it was to like a sexy line thing or something. Like, you know, those ones that you call up and speak to somebody and they charge you like an absolute fortune per minute. Yeah, it was to them. They also found a picture of Maddie's sister. She was called Jessie, and she was 11 at the time. Now, this photo that he had stolen from the household, and police believed that he was quite obsessively over like the Cliftons, but more over Jessie. So he never really gave a motive as to why he did this, but maybe he was more sort of looking towards Jessie, who was a little bit older and sort of more around his age. And he was friends with Maddie, and the opportunity just presented itself, and he took that and ran with it, even though it was not the girl that he was initially targeting, or maybe he wanted to practice first. I don't know. Either way, it's just grim and disgusting. But yeah, that is what is thought about it. Now, there's also, they had family videos and stuff of them all playing together, which is really sad. And apparently on these videos, he would like focus a lot on Jessie. Like, I don't know whether he was recording it or something, and he would like linger over Jessie. So yeah, that's kind of creepy too. Josh was sent to trial, and even though he was 14 years old, he was tried as an adult, because the judge thought it was just utterly deplorable what he'd done, and that he had done an adult thing, and so he should be tried as an adult. And bearing in mind, this is like 1998. So the trial didn't last long. They did find him guilty and convicted him of first-degree murder without the possibility of parole. So the defense said that he was frightened to death of his dad, and in a passionate madness, he killed her. But not only did he hit her over the head and knock her out and then hit her, he pulled her out and stabbed her. He said that her shorts were off because as he was dragging her to the room, they came off, but there was no blood anywhere else other than in his room. There was no wound to her eye. Like he said, he had hit the ball in her eye and made like it bleed, and it would have been bruised. There was nothing at all to literally back that up whatsoever. There was blood splatter, which was only in his room, and apparently it had gone that high that it had gone on the ceiling fan. And just whatever he said he did, the evidence that they found didn't back it up, if you know what I mean. So it was pretty open and actual case. Now, whilst he was in prison, he took education. He now works as a paralegal in prison and helps people with their appeals. He has since appealed, and also the law has since changed, saying that minors of such a young age cannot be sentenced to life in jail. And so he did. He got another trial, which upset, of course, all of Maddie's family all over again, and his own family, because his own family are going through hell as well. His mum, is absolutely devastated at what he did, and she very much blames Steve, the father, because he was so horrible with them, and she puts a lot of the blame on him. But of course it can't all be blamed on him. Now, I know some people are brought up in some awful circumstances and stuff, but even though you are, doesn't mean that you have to go ahead and murder someone. So yeah, I do think that these do have an impact, but I also think that there's some deeply rooted messed up stuff inside you anyway to be able to even carry out a murder or carry out anything like that, personally. But yeah, that's just my opinion, and that's what his mother thinks. His dad did actually die in 2000 or 2002 in a car crash. I believe he was going to see his son in jail or something like that and ran off the road. Wasn't wearing a seatbelt, I guess, and just straight through the window, which apparently is a horrible man anyway, so nobody really cares about that. He went to trial again a few years ago, I believe, and they just basically upheld the life sentence because what he did was just so horrific. Her family had to come and do impact statements, which was like, I believe it was 15 years later or 18 years later. And her mother said, he's been in education, he's now a paralegal, he's been doing all this training and whatever else. Where was Maddie's training? What was she able to do in the last 18 years? Nothing, because he took her life away from her. So yeah, it was upheld, basically. I believe that he was supposed to have another appeal in 2023. He's still in jail. So yeah, this case is absolutely devastating. Personally, I do not think that Josh should ever get out. He's 40 years old now, and he's been in prison since, well, he was 14. So that's a long time. I wouldn't want him walking around the streets, no matter how reformed and a model prisoner he is. I don't care. He, at 14, took a little 8-year-old girl's life. And not only did he accidentally hit her over the head with a bat or whatever, he then stabbed her 7 times and slit her throat. It's not just like, oh, we were having a little scuffle and she hit her head and died, is it? It's not that at all. It's something very different. He says that he's a different person now and he values life now, and he wishes that when he was 14 he did value life, but he just didn't understand it. And I do get that to an extent, but still, I just can't. Kids killing kids is just so wrong. And yeah, I think he just should stay in there forever now. He's did his crime, and Madeline lost her life due to it, and now he should just stay in jail forever. But there you go, that's my opinion. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye.